want to do it right here?
Colonel, lead us into action. Captain, my captain. Hey!
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's all right.
All right.
I'm going to have to use my glasses. Reading glasses. I'm getting a bit older here. How about that? When our forefathers set out to form a more perfect union,
Preaching!
the result was far from perfect. Only male, white landowners have the privilege of freedom and democracy.
What the fuck am I doing here, man? I should be over there, man.
Although these great men had vision beyond their time, they were still of their time.
That's right.
The founding fathers were the original capital class, a class of wealthy individuals that have dominated the politics, morality, and economics of this great country since its founding.
Yes.
We, not of that class of mind, have been struggling ever since to accrue the results of the efforts of Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Franklin, Madison, Hamilton, and all the leaders of our first revolution. But it is the men and women of lesser means and power that struggled and died to bring forth the freedoms and privileges that you and I enjoy today. In a greater sense, these are our founding patrons, those that answer the call of the capital class to defend the rights of all men.
Right.
They are the selfless, the martyred, the heroes that we must emulate if we are to achieve the inalienable rights that were inscribed on parchment. Hell no. This struggle is the history of America. Men and women fighting to achieve these promised rights against the soft tyranny of greed and personal interest. Reborn in the victories over the banking class of Andrew Jackson's time, the slave-owning class of Abraham Lincoln's time, and the great trust class of Teddy Roosevelt's time. Reborn in the victories over this, reborn in the suffrage movement of Susan B. Anthony's time, the labor movement of Samuel Gompers' time, and the civil rights movement of Martin Luther King Jr.'s time. The struggle is not over. Again today, we have a repressive minority that has harnessed its dominance of capital to wield over the American government for its single-minded purpose, the accumulation of wealth and power at the expense of the stockholders of the American dream.
That's right.
But today, our adversary is more wily than those of previous struggles. It does not display its intent in the form of slavery and repression. Rather, they congregate behind the closed doors of our elected representatives to haggle for their share of the spoils of victory over the American stockholder. Rather, they consolidate the assets of this great nation by forming industrial oligarchies whose paid representatives buy and sell influence to further consolidate, all at the expense of the American stockholder. The assets of this great nation, its robust economy, its vast natural resources, and its global influence is now controlled by a new capital class, more determined, greedy, and clever than any before. They, the puppeteers of the military-industrial complex, the medical-industrial complex, and the communications-industrial complex have triangulated the American stockholder into a passive belief that they are acting in our best interest, that our great thirst for energy, our immense ignorance of the environment, and our passive consumption of media will continue to enable them to consolidate the assets of the American stockholder for their personal benefit. But to believe that we will be lulled into a lethargy never before known in history is a mistake. The American stockholder declare a new independence over the imperial crown of the American plutocracy. We declare our intent to pursue the inalienable rights promised at the founding of this great nation, that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is not just a famous line from history, but a demand by the American stockholder on its elected representatives to protect. We demand the protection of our inalienable right to life in the form and full and unfettered access to the American healthcare system. That this system be released from the bonds of plutocratic control, and that this system become part of the American trust so that all citizens can be relieved of their fear of financial devastation, unequal access, and profit mongering that puts our right to life at risk. We demand the protection of our inalienable right to liberty in the form of equal access to the banks of knowledge that this great nation has accumulated and distributes unequally to the sons and daughters of the plutocracy. That the elected representatives of the government assure that all citizens accrue their right to liberty through full and equal access to the great liberator, education. We demand the protection of our inalienable right to the pursuit of happiness in the form of a dividend from the American economy, the economy that our parents before us struggled to protect and build into the most powerful and robust in the history of mankind. That this economy be taken back from the plutocracy and become a protected trust that all citizens may benefit equally in the form of a living wage. We, the American stockholder, declare these rights as our inherited trust, and that it be protected by the full force of the Constitution of the United States of America, and that no special interest may breach without swift and certain justice, and that elected government of the people take up the action of realizing the dream so often spoke of, but yet achieved.